This is not an external lack of understanding on how to talk about the stuff you're passionate about. This is an internal identity level, fear, belonging thing. Like, that's really where this is coming from.
And that doesn't mean she's not a peak performer. But I think that you need to kind of get outside your comfort zone and try to do the one that you have maybe neglected a little bit.
Next Level Nation, welcome back to another episode of Next Level University, where we teach you how to level up your life, your love, your health, and your wealth. We hope you enjoyed our latest episode. It was episode number 1386, a brave thing to try in your relationships, intimate or otherwise. Today, for episode number 1387, the problem might be deeper than you think. Happy Tuesday. Happy Independence Day. Full transparency, this is the second time Alan and I are recording this episode because we were having some sound issues, and it's always weird re-recording an episode because you don't know what you said in this episode or what you said in the episode that doesn't exist. So if there's any weird energy, that is why. Okay, I was on a coaching call the other day, and you might think I am a podcast coach, but what comes with that is hopefully helping people understand themselves at a deeper level, whether it's as a speaker, as a podcaster, as a business owner, whatever it is. So I have this client who's been struggling to promote their podcast, and it's a really good podcast, and they're a really good podcaster, and it's different. It's a very good product. And I said, why do you think you're struggling? Right? So we've talked about this before, the 7 whys. If you ask something ask why 7 times, usually you get to the root cause of whatever the thing is. So I said, why are you not promoting the podcast more? Do you not believe in it? What are your feelings around the podcast? And he said, no, I really believe in it. It's almost like the more I believe in something, the harder it is for me to talk about it. I was like, okay, that's interesting. Why do you think that is? And he said, well, when I care about something, I'm more afraid to get judged when it comes to that thing. I said, okay, why do you think that is? And I kept digging and I kept digging and I kept digging. And eventually we got to the point where we were talking about how this person has a book. So this person took the time to do the research and sit down and write out a book, publish it on Amazon, and make it real. And it exists on Amazon right now. You can buy this book. And I said, how'd your book do when you launched it? I'm sure there was some judgment with that. And he said, oh, I've never promoted it. Yeah, nobody even really knows it's out there. I mean, it's on Amazon. You can buy it, but I don't really talk about it that much. And I said, interesting. I said, what's underneath that? He said, just the fear of judgment. I'm so afraid of that. Kept digging. And eventually I took a stab and I said, can I throw something out there? And he said, yeah, of course. And I said, my guess is you were probably raised in a very judgmental household, and you were probably raised by people who told you to stay quiet, not to rock the boat, don't draw too much attention, don't talk about your strengths. Is any of that resonating? And he said, that's all true. And I said, that's it right there. This is not an external lack of understanding on how to talk about the stuff you're passionate about. This is an internal identity level, fear, belonging thing. Like, that's really where this is coming from. And it was a very, very vulnerable conversation, and there were tears at the end. And I actually said, thank you to this person. I said, I appreciate you being so open with me, because honestly, I have other clients who are dealing with very similar things, but they would never tell me. They would never, right? They would never open up to me and say, you know what? Honestly, I'm struggling because I'm afraid of the judgment that might come with this. And I said, the reason you and I have so much growth together is because you're open to these conversations and you trust me and you're willing to dig deep. That's why I enjoy working with you so much. So we wrapped up the call with, I want you to explore that. I think it would benefit you to take a look back on all the times where you wanted to talk about something, but you didn't, or all the potential bottlenecks you've had in your life because of this one thing that is way, way, way below the surface. On the surface, I don't want to promote the podcast because I'm afraid of judgment. Awesome. I understand that completely. The next layer is I struggle with promoting stuff that I'm very, very passionate about because the more I care about it, the more I can get hurt by it. Okay, interesting. Layer. The deepest layer is I grew up in a household where me doing what I'm doing today probably wasn't allowed, and it probably would have been punished. And that's why he's showing up the way he is today. So everything is deeper than you think.
It's conditioning. Kev, you remember the speech that you gave How's my audio quality, by the way?
I'm nervous. It's shitty.
Is it not good?
I can't really tell. It sounds off.
Yours sounds off too.
Well, thank you.
A little bit. A little bit.
I don't know. Keep going. Well, I'll close my eyes and listen.
Okay. Kev, you remember that speech that you gave that had the elephant?
Yeah.
Yeah. So essentially it was a picture of a circus elephant and how when the elephant is this little baby elephant, the circus basically puts this big, huge stake in the ground and ties the elephant to it, and the elephant tries hard to get free, and it can't. And then it's this huge elephant, and when it was a little baby elephant, it tried, and it couldn't break free, and maybe it got punished or whipped or whatever, which is, a whole nother thing. But eventually it's this huge elephant that could easily rip the stake right out of the ground and probably the whole tent with it, but it has been conditioned not to try because it still thinks it's a little baby elephant. And I think that that's an overused analogy in this industry, but I think it's very powerful. And all of us are that little baby elephant in something. And one thing that I've found fascinating in my own growth journey and then also coaching so many people is that everyone is fearful. Everyone. They're just afraid of different things. Everyone is fearful. Everyone. They're just afraid of different things. And I think that what you achieve in life tends to be the polar opposite of whatever your deepest fear is. So Kev, for example, not having money, not having freedom, having a lot of pain associated with not having money growing up, and they did have some money, but you know what I'm saying, is, and now his deepest desires, his goals are very, very wealth creation oriented. And so for this client, I've said this many times, in order to get to the next level, you usually have to go to a deeper level. So in order to get to the next level of success, you have to go to a deeper level of understanding. And I think that understanding can be two different things. You can understand at a deeper level how to do something. That's external. That's how do I write a book? How do I structure a story? How do I start a podcast? How do I promote a book? How do I publish a book? Blah, blah, blah. That's external. We talk a lot about that at NLU. Things like that. How to. But there's another side of that coin, which is a deeper level of understanding of self, and that's the inner work. So the outer work is the how to. How do I drive a car? How do I get to work? How do I get a new job? How do I build a resume? How do I? The internal stuff is this, which is self-awareness, which is emotional intelligence, which is understanding your own ego, understanding your own distortions, understanding your own why you do what you do and why you avoid what you don't do. And I think that coaching usually has to do with both, because I know a lot of people that know how to write a book but can't get themselves to write. Or maybe they can write the book but they can't promote it, like this client. And a lot of people say things like, well, I'm not afraid of judgment, but then they won't post anything on Facebook. And it's a blanket statement. Okay, you're not afraid of judgment. I don't think that's true. I don't think that's true for anyone. Maybe you're not afraid of what strangers think, but you're definitely afraid of what your mother thinks or your father thinks or your grandparents think or whatever, your aunt, your uncle. That's why a lot of people post things on Instagram that they won't post on Facebook. And if you're not truthful with yourself, you're not really going to unlock the root cause of why you're not achieving what you want to achieve.
It's hard because it's very hard to do this on your own. To dig and dig and dig and dig. It does. In the episode that we didn't finish recording because of the issue, I said, what did I say? What's below that? What's beneath that?
Oh, yeah. What's underneath that?
What's underneath that? I think that's something Alan uses in coaching. I think he'll ask a question, and then when you answer, he'll say, what's underneath that? But it's hard if you don't have somebody there doing that. I used to say this. It's weird how you'll be thinking of something and you'll get to a point where you're like, that's it. That's as far as I can go. But there's a layer under that, and sometimes it requires somebody to ask you a certain question to get you to dig there.
Yeah, I call it the trampoline.
Yes.
So Kevin and I will be masterminding behind the scenes, like we always do, and I'll make this sort of hand gesture of like a trampoline.
Yeah.
It's like that, it like doesn't land.
Does not compute.
Does not compute. It's like you're trying to get me to understand something, but my mind doesn't want to take it in yet. There's a block. And usually there's some sort of trauma under that, or maybe some distortion or something you don't really want to admit to yourself. That's usually, I told Kevin this earlier today behind the scenes. I said, you don't have to ever worry again that I care more about understanding than my temporary feelings. And obviously Kevin doesn't want to hurt my feelings, like obviously not. But what if you have to share something with me that might hurt my feelings, which you've had to do before, for sure. And it's interesting because in hindsight, those are the moments that changed my life the most. But yet we don't want to hurt other people, and then we don't give people the permission to hurt us. And so maybe that's another episode, I don't know. But these deeper layers, and I'll use one example of someone I know, I'll keep it anonymous. There's someone that we do relationship talks coaching with who said, I know why a lot of people haven't been consistent in relationship talks coaching. Because we've had a lot of clients, but some people fall off. And he's stuck with it for years now at this stage. He says it's just really hard to face the difficult truths. He said, you and Emilia essentially go to the deepest layer, and I had to face my deepest demons. And in this person's case, they basically had to face the fact that they don't think highly of their family. As a matter of fact, it's the opposite. They actually think very negatively of their family. They had to face the truth that their family is messed up. And I think on some level, that's what your client is going through too, of, I don't want to face the reality that I want to think my mom and dad were great, and I want to think they had my best interest at heart, and I want to believe that when we're kids, our parents are our heroes, and a lot of times we don't want them to fall from that pedestal. And so usually the inner work has to do with uncomfortable truths that you don't want to face about yourself or about your family. Outer work is just learning how things work and why they work that way. So, if you want to learn how to garden, you got to learn how tomatoes grow or whatever. I think that outer work is easy personally, but of course I would think that, since the inner stuff is the hard stuff that I've had to face.
I would tend to agree, though. I think the the external is new, the internal is usually old. It's like digging up old stuff versus planting new stuff.
Yeah.
There's just so many roots, and there's just so many memories, and it's interesting. It's a chat. Good.
So group coaching was definitely an experience for me. Getting to know the people was really, really cool. Everybody's kind of moving towards the same goal. And I definitely started to see the value in what Kevin and Alan were presenting to us. PPT for me was something that was really huge. I was looking for a system to help me kind of keep track of the things that I had to do every day to make sure that I was productive. I feel like I got so much value out of it, and I am so grateful that I took the leap and I decided to join.
If you want another gardening analogy,
Sure.
If you want to plant a new garden, a new life, you have to uproot the weeds.
Yeah.
You have to go and updo the soil and updo. I don't know the gardening terms, but seriously, you have to uproot all the roots and turn the soil or churn the soil. I don't know, but that's kind of what therapy is. And in some cases, inner work, coaching, personal growth, self-awareness. You're kind of like going back to your past and like uprooting all the weeds. Yeah. And then you're planting new seeds in a fresh soil garden that's ready for transformation. And I don't think you can imagine taking old, dirty, weedy soil and trying to plant new seeds. It's not going to work. So you kind of need to do both. Yeah, you need to learn how to plant and water and sunshine and rain, but you also have to learn how to uproot the old crap, the toxic soil. You have to learn how to work through all that stuff.
Well, and we've said this many, many times. Usually you tend to be really good at one. Mm-hmm. Just for some reason seems to be the way it works. You're really good at one, and then you ride that one off into the sunset for as long as you can, and then usually something happens and you realize, oh, interesting, this isn't the answer to everything.
Which one do you think is your proclivity?
Proclivity. I don't know what that means. No, I do.
You're funny.
I don't know. I would say maybe internal, naturally.
Yeah, same.
I don't think it was great.
I think for me it was more external. That was my proclivity.
Proclivity.
And I think yours was more internal. And I think in some ways you were ahead of me on that when we met. And I think I was ahead of you on the planting new seeds and learning how to garden. You need both.
It's
if you want a
self-awareness.
holistic life.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you want a holistic.
Self-awareness versus world awareness.
Mm-hmm.
You can know, again, this person knew how to write a book. They were confident enough to write a book. They were confident enough to publish the book. It wasn't that. It was the internal stuff behind why they weren't doing what they were doing. This is one of the reasons, I think one of the reasons people have midlife crises is because eventually you get to the point where you get all the things that you thought would bring certain results, and then you realize, oh, this is inner stuff more than anything. That's really what we're trying to do, is trying to maybe tell a story or give a lesson or whatever it is that will land in a different way. Or maybe you might say something similar where it's like, okay, maybe it's not a book, maybe it's not a podcast, maybe it's not a coaching program, whatever, but maybe you are not doing something because of a fear from your childhood. You just don't know it yet. Mm-hmm. And until you land on that, it's always going to seem like it's other stuff. Until you find the right key to the lock, that's the interesting thing. You could go watch a motivational video, and that might seem like the right key to the lock, and it doesn't do anything. Oh, no. You can go be around somebody inspirational, and maybe that'll give you a little turn of the lock, but that probably isn't it. Everything else is kind of a Band-Aid for the deepest of all problems. And just finding them is usually super challenging.
What I've found, and there seems to be no exception to this, what I've found is that everyone has a natural inclination towards one or the other. I know a lot of people that love the inner work, and all the books they read are emotional intelligence and codependence and internal family systems and therapy and psychology and all of that. I have this pyramid of the universe that I call it, and it starts from the bottom and it works its way up. It goes math, physics, chemistry, biology, physiology, neuroscience, and psychology. And I joke with Emilia, she started from the top and worked her way down. I started from the bottom and worked my way up. I started with math, physics, chemistry, all that. She started with the human condition, psychology. I didn't learn psychology stuff. I mean, I took a psychology course in high school, but I didn't dive deep into psychology and neuroscience, more psychology, until like after 26. After 26 is when I went all in on all psychology, inner work, emotional intelligence, all that kind of stuff. But the whole beginning of my life was much more external. I think everyone is more focused on external or internal. And I think that usually people, so I have one client, Linda, who's been focused on internal her whole life. She's unbelievable in that, but she needs to learn some more external, and she's great at that too. So Linda, if you're listening, please don't get offended. I think you're amazing at both. But I can tell you right now, she'd much rather read How Emotions Are Made than Peak Performance. You know, and that doesn't mean she's not a peak performer, but I think that you need to kind of get outside your comfort zone and try to do the one that you have maybe neglected a little bit.
You've heard the quote, if it's not broke, don't fix it. You've heard that, I'm sure. Mm-hmm. It's hard because a lot of the stuff that seems like it's winning in life might actually be just like 50% of the result you'd actually get if you did the internal work. That's the interesting thing. You don't know, and you can't really ever know until you do it. It's a very paradoxical thing, but it's over the last 6 years that really has been the biggest difference for me, at least. Is now I understand when you do a certain thing, it's not just because you do the thing that way. There's a lot of layers under it, and the more layers you understand about yourself, the more self-aware you are. Ultimately, the more influence you have over yourself. we have so much knowledge about like our cell phones or social media platforms or what this person's doing or whatever. If we understood ourselves at the level that we understood our favorite reality TV show stars, we would be in a much better place, because that's what self-awareness is. And at the end of the day, that's the most valuable thing in the world to understand, because you happen to be attached to this thing for the rest of your life. So the better you understand yourself, the more holistically successful you will ultimately be.
The formula is this: learn yourself, transform yourself. Then you'll transform the results you get. And then you'll learn from those new results, which will then kind of get you to face another layer within yourself. I mean, as we've gotten to the next level in our life, we've had to go deeper and deeper and deeper into our past and into who we are and who we want to be. It's really it's very important to do both of those. Yeah. It's really important to do both of those. I remember when I was doing the most inner work, but I was broke. And I was super fulfilled.
Trying to pet the deer.
I was trying to be so centered that the deer would stay in my presence. And they did. I accomplished my goal. Now I need to hunt the deer and sell the meat. I'm kidding. No, but real talk, that is, and did it just happen with my mic? I think it just happened. Yeah. Sorry if the audio quality on this episode is a little less than usual. We're trying to figure it out.
Yeah, we're trying to figure it out.
You'd think we would have it figured out after 1,400 episodes.
You would think. But maybe there's something deep inside ourselves we need to look at I'm sure in order
to figure out how to get this audio quality to work. But I think it's transform self, and then you'll transform the results, and then you'll transform yourself again, and then you'll transform the results. And I think it's a cycle, and hopefully you're doing both the inner work and the outer work, and that's all I've got.
Same. Next Level Nation, as you know, we pride ourselves on being a wonderful community of heart-driven humans. If you are looking for more people like that in your life, social media is a wonderful place to find them. Please join our private Facebook group, Next Level Nation. It's not private, so... Excuse me?
It's a wonder place.
Yeah, it's a wonder place. It's not private, so to keep you out, but it's so you can feel safe being in there. And you can be yourself. You don't have to worry about what you're posting. And you're not going to get made fun of like Alan's making fun of me right now. We promise there will be none of that in Next Level Nation. Hey, you better
have fun.
You better say whatever whatever you're about to say perfectly.
I know.
Go ahead.
We have fun here. I really enjoy this, even though we're still just jeffing forward.
Always.
What I'm going to say next is Group 11 is about to close. We have it on July 11th. We actually had someone reach out today via email. They said, I'm ready to do another round. Let's rock and roll. We have a promo code. Email me, alan@nextleveluniverse.com. Say, Alan, I want the promo code I want in. You and a group of 9 other like-minded individuals. Here's what I can promise you. What you are struggling with, what you are going through, what you are growing through is not uncommon, and you are not alone. And you can learn from other people's experiences along the way. So if you feel lost, if you feel hopeless or helpless, and you feel like you just need to get on some train tracks, you need to get some direction, you need to get some clarity, group coaching is literally designed for that. And please reach out.
Tomorrow. Oh no, what's the next level nugget? What do you got for the next level nugget?
Next level nugget is whichever proclivity you have for either inner work or outer work. For me, I preferred outer. I really love the outer work, learning how the economy works in the world. I had an aversion to the inner work. And it wasn't until 26 that I really started going inward. And so my next level nugget is figure out which one you are naturally inclined to and try to work on the other one.
Okay. I would say next time you feel like you are a layer below, ask yourself what's below that one. Because it's there, which is just a matter of time before we get there. So next time you feel like you have the answer to whatever it is, ask yourself why, and ask yourself if there's something below that. If you do that long enough. Every time you say inward, I think Squidward. Every single time. I almost laughed. Tomorrow, for episode number 1,388, we're creeping up on 1,400, how to maintain momentum this summer. I see a lot of people who are celebrating, and I'm all for celebration. I love it. I just don't want anybody to lose momentum. You've been working very, very, very hard for the last 6 months, for the last couple of years. The last thing I want you to do is lose all the momentum over the summer, because a lot of people are going to. as the NLU family, we don't want that to be you. So we'll be talking about that tomorrow. As always, we love you. We appreciate you. Grateful for each and every one of you. And at NLU, we do not have fans. We have family. We will talk to you all tomorrow.
Find out what's underneath that. Next Level Nation.